Let's look at a miracle, shall we? John 2, verse 1 to 11. On the third day, a wedding took place at Cana in Galilee. Jesus' mother was there, and Jesus and his disciples had also been invited to the wedding. When the wine was gone, Jesus' mother said to him, "They have no more wine." And he answered, "Woman, what do you have to do with me? My time, my hour has not yet come." His mother said to the servant, "Do whatever he tells you." Nearby stood 6 stone jars of water, the kind used by the Jews for ceremonial washing, each holding from 20 to 30 gallons. Jesus said to the servants, "Fill the jars with water." So they filled them to the brim. Then he told them, "Now draw some out and take it to the master of the banquet." And they did so, and the master of the banquet tasted the water that had been turned into wine. He did not realize where it had come from, though the servants knew. The servants who drawn out the water knew. Then he called the bridegroom, the headmaster, the master of the banquet, called the bridegroom aside and said, "Everyone brings the best wine first, and then the cheaper. When the guests have drunk freely, then he brings out the cheaper wine. But you have saved the best until now." This, the first of his miraculous signs Jesus performed at Cana in Galilee. He thus revealed his glory, and his disciples put their faith in him. That's a very interesting story. We're going to look through the details just to see. The story's simple. We all understand it. We all know what happened. But there's some details we can expand further to have a better understanding of that story. So the first one is, let's take a nice notice that it says on the third day. There's a miracle happening, and we all know a miracle happened on the third day later on in the story. Well, in Jesus' story. So first of all, there's a problem. Jesus' mother comes to him and says they don't have any more wine. And why is that a big problem? Because it would cause humiliation to the bridegroom, which the bridegroom and his family was supposed to provide the wine for the wedding. Now, if anyone I don't know about you, but in Polish custom, if you have guests over and you don't have enough food, that's a big shame. You always make more than enough food. And for anyone who came over to my place or to my parents, you guys know that. Yeah, and that's a big problem, because it's not like you can just get up from the wedding and go to a dépanneur and buy some wine. First of all, it's not enough. Second, there's no dépanneur. And third, to make wine, it takes time. It takes a lot of time. And so you can't just boom. Well, not everyone can just make wine. The second interesting point is Jesus' answer to his mother. He doesn't say, "Oh, Mom, why, what do you want?" Or, "Okay, I'll deal with it." He answers, "Woman, what do you have to do with me?" Now, it might seem like a little bit too intense, like SpongeBob's episode of "What's It to Ya?"
What's your name? What's it to ya?
But it was a more, some versions say, "Dear woman." It was a phrase they used, and it was him basically saying, I have authority over this, and you're not the one telling me what to do. Because at this point, Mary knows, Jesus' mother knows that she doesn't have authority over Jesus. But she pleaded, and she just pointed out the fact that there's no more wine. Next interesting thing is the stone water pots. So the jars of stone, the 6 stone water jars, that were for the Jewish custom of purification. Now what that was is, you won't find it in the Bible because it's not written there. It's the custom of elders. So basically, all the elders have this spoken tradition, and custom of purification is when you enter the house, you would wash your hands and your feet and from all the dust and the nastiness that you can find outside. And also they would do that before each meal. So they would purify so that they're pure, basically. And finally, the master of the banquet, or head waiter, or any other word that you might have in your translation, is the person that's more responsible for the banquet and that would know his wine. So when he tasted the wine and he's like, just picture a fine wine connoisseur and like, ooh, this is delicious, like that type of stuff. I was like, oh, what is a French noisette with something. You can see I'm not a real wine connoisseur just by that, with a hint of nutmeg and all that. Anyway, now like let's dive a little bit deeper into the details. So that's just like, What I find interesting in this story is that, first of all, Jesus' commands are simple. Like, you don't have any more basic than that. Is put some water in and then take it to the head waiter. He didn't do some put a blanket over it and whoosh, whoa, and there's wine, or like a cadabra, or just put some water in, take it to the head waiter. The other interesting thing that there is Jesus used the Jewish purification traditions of washing in the stone jars to foreshadow his much better purification that comes later on by his blood. And not only is it much better as in it works, but also it is more enjoyable. Another thing is that Jesus creates something with history, like out of nothing. So good wine takes time. So you didn't just create like some basic cheapo wine that just like made yesterday. You made something that was much better than what they had experienced. And since the head waiter is like a connoisseur, he automatically recognized that. It's like, ooh, like this is top-notch quality. So to explain further a little bit, like to give you a picture of the purification, we have a very great example now. Is wherever we go, we have Purell and some other vinegar smell nasty stuff that we use to purify every time we enter a store, every time we come back home, every time we touch the door handle, all those like traditional things. And that's what it was. It was a traditional ritual that they did. Now imagine having like 6 stone jars of Purell and then asking to like pour some more Purell in it, and then take it to the head waiter, knowing that this water is used for washing, which was kind of not really like quality water, maybe more like nasty. Eventually, after a lot of people washed, and might not be that nice. And now it's turned into age-appropriate Kool-Aid, and it's like the best thing ever. It's the best Kool-Aid you've ever had. All this to say that Jesus saves us from the humiliation of us humans trying to purify ourselves through rituals and things that we do, which we know doesn't work. And he saves us by purifying us on the inside with his blood, which is much more enjoyable and better. So all we can say is God's way is much sweeter than man's.